Hello and welcome once again to Ignite Your Impact. My name is Jen Rhodes. I am seated firmly in my chair next to Mr. Matt Rhodes.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. ¿Cómo estás?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good, actually.
Neat. I don't know why. I wish these little knobbies here. If you're watching on YouTube, I have little knobbies on my microphone I just like to touch. I'm being very fidgety today. Okay. Jen's back, people. So we just got back from Sedona, Arizona. I cannot wait to talk about our topic today. Sedona was a trip.
Yeah.
Right? Like Branson. But
Beautiful.
Branson's beautiful.
Yeah.
But just, I don't know. It was wild. It was wild. I also understand why hiking shoes are like ugly colors now.
Yeah, we show up to go hiking and
my pretty white shoes
I'm wearing white
ruined.
tennis shoes as well, and everyone's looking at us like, "What the? You guys idiots?
Who are these idiots?" Well, we were cute going into the trail.
It's all good.
It's all good. So obviously, we just got back from Upgrade Platinum. We spent 4 days in Sedona, Arizona, my favorite state. There's nothing about Arizona I don't like so far. Top to bottom, left to right.
Yeah.
Me likey. But there were 4 others in this training, plus Matt and myself and our mentor, William Lamb. And I know we talk about our mindset coach, William, often. This specific training, I would say, is his top level, like top tier.
Besides one-on-one coaching, it's his top level of training.
Basically, we're his favorites, is how I describe it. And nobody seems to argue, so we're just going to go with it. This is his top level training. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think I could learn new things about myself for as long as we've been and we've only been in this game for probably 3.5 years. How many times did I get my mind blown this past week? Like,
Pretty crazy stuff.
I didn't know that was inside me. Okay, that's a new one. Where have you been hiding? But we got so much value from this, and we want to share a lot of what we learned over the next few weeks and months. But what we're going to talk about today just kind of like came up in a casual lunch.
Yeah. Jen hit that pretty hard. There is so much that we got from this training that we cannot wait to share with all of you, which is one of the benefits of listening to this podcast. We go out and do this training. We can share some of the things with you guys. And we'll be doing that over the next few podcasts. But I really, before we jump into what we're going to talk about today, this type of training encapsulates everything that we believe in. You know, as an example, environment. We talk about environment all the time. We put ourselves in rooms with extremely high performers. People making a lot more money than we are. And it's awesome to hear them talk of excellence and winning and getting better every day. And that's what you get when you put yourself in that type of an environment. And then number 2 is investing in yourself. You know, this training it's a 2-part training. We went to Miami last year, and this year we're in Sedona. And, you know, this is probably the most expensive thing we've ever bought besides a house and a couple businesses. So we invested in ourselves. And that's what we're preaching, but we practice what we preach. We go find these rooms where we are not at our top level, and we go and invest in there and to get into there. So I just think it's really what we stand for. And
invest heavily in
invest
yourself.
heavily in yourself, yeah. But we'll bring a lot of this to you in the next few podcasts. But back to this casual lunch, because this wasn't even part of the training, and it hit us. So we're all talking about travel, and it started out with William talking about this recent trip that he did to Portugal. And he's talking about how clean the air was there and how clean the food was. I think you mentioned food 20 times. They must have really good food there.
I think he just knows my love language.
Yeah, but he was going on and on about this place. And so we all started sharing. You can imagine us sitting around a table eating lunch. I think there was 5, 6, 7 of us. We just started sharing some great places that we've all traveled to and some things we like. And another one of our mentor was part of the training, John, and he shared some places he likes to go. But he mentioned something. He said, I like to travel in short doses, like 6 days or less. And then I need to be home. And he's talking about how he loves to go to new environments as well as everyone else. But he says that this short period of time is important to him because he can take off a week from working out and eating clean foods, no problem. But anything longer than that, it just kind of gets him out of whack. It's tough to find a good gym when you're traveling for extended periods of time. It's tough to find good, clean food. And that's why he likes short trips. And it freaking hit me just sitting there at lunch like a lightning bolt, just right between the eyes. And I was like, you tell me your pros and cons of vacation travel, and I will know what your priorities are.
That's so good.
It just hit me. I was like, holy shit. I know where his priorities are. His priorities are he's got to work out. He's got to eat clean food. Doesn't have to do it every day, but he can't go for an extended period of time. And he chooses that over long-term travel. So right now, I want to do this exercise. I want everyone listening right now. What are some pros and cons that you have to long-term travel? And when I say that, I'm talking more like 7 days or more. And you can think of some of them. You may be thinking it's a nice time away to really unplug. You might be thinking about it going somewhere warm, some of the great foods. Some of the cons, maybe you may be thinking about time away from work. Maybe you've got kids if they're not with you. Who's going to take care of them? Maybe you've got animals. And those are all good, all things to be thinking about in your pros and cons list. But I know some of you are also thinking just like John was. You're thinking just like Jen and I do as well. It's tough to find gyms if you're traveling a long distance and you want to find a good gym and you want to eat clean foods. And it's okay to take a week off, but I really got to get back into my routine, get back into my gym and into my habits. And Jen and I started discussing this because that hit me so hard when I said, damn, tell me your pros and cons of travel, and I know your priorities. We started discussing this later on that night, just the two of us, and she really broke it down perfectly, what that means with priorities. And I want her to share what you and I talked about that night on how priorities and how you get there, because I think everyone wants to understand, well, how do I get that priority that John has that you guys have? So let's go through that.
Yeah. Well, priorities are super important, but that's not where it starts. John didn't just wake up one day and say, these are my priorities. I know you've also probably heard the saying, your priorities aren't in order. All right, great. Got it. Thanks. But how do you get them in order? And how do you make it to be an unconscious decision that does not require effort? It has to start somewhere else. You can't just wake up one day and change your priorities. It requires too much effort to become permanent.
Yeah, I was going to say you can, but you can't do it long term. But you said it even better. It's too much effort to just say, one day I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as an example, you know what last Thursday was. Yes?
I do.
What was it?
Well, it was Thanksgiving.
It was leg day.
It was Thursday.
It was Thursday. And that's how unconscious of a decision it has to be. It has to be so automated that no matter what, on Thursdays we lift legs. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas or New Year's or your birthday, or if you're on vacation, or, the second Thursday of the month, twice removed, right? So we worked out because it's Thursday. That's what we do. Now, we also enjoyed all of the great food and soaked up so much family time, but we worked out. Not because we were trying to earn food, because it was Thursday. So where do these priorities start? The ones, like the priorities that start where it's Thursday, and that means you lift weights. Well, it starts in your identity. And I'll say it again. It starts in your identity. This is so crucial. So I want to take you through what Matt and I went through that changed our identities. I want to take you through what we take our clients through that changes their identities. Now, obviously, this will be on the macro level, right? We don't have that much time. But you will get value from this. I guarantee it. So if you're in the car, if you're at the gym, if you're walking the dog, you may be thinking right now, this is where you are and this is where you need to go.
Yeah. When you say that, I'm just trying to think. It's like, how do we change priorities versus identity? You'd think that changing your identity would be harder than priorities, but it's not. This is actually how we went from overweight, stressed out business owners to where we're at today. Because we couldn't just change our priorities. I tried that. I've been on that roller coaster forever, and so would you. And so many people listening right now have been on that roller coaster trying to change your priorities. And you're going to lay out perfectly here how you do it with your identity here in just a minute. We saw this, once we went through this, we saw this was so profound in our personal lives. We changed our business model at our gyms so that we're trying to change identities rather than instill habits. Because if you start at the identity level, as Jen just said, those priorities become natural. And then when we started doing that in the gym, that's when we started training people online and really trying to change the identity of people. So I know you have 4 areas that people absolutely have to do if they want to change their identity so that those priorities become natural, just like John talked about. So go through those 4 areas.
Yeah. So the first one, wow. Promise I'm not having a stroke, you guys. The first one, you have to get honest with yourself. What do you want? Where are you at? You got to get honest. This is where it starts. We looked in the mirror. We stared at the reflection, and we realized that we were not living up to our potential. We were doing okay. As Callie would say, pretty okay. But by no means were we fulfilling the purpose of why we were put on this earth. And when you start getting real with yourself at that level, is this what I've been born to do? You start getting really real with yourself.
Yeah, when you block everyone else and everything else out, it could be different for some people, but for me, and I think a lot of you can relate to this if you do this. When I went and, I had some struggling with my body image, the way I looked, my weight, and I literally did. I walked in the bedroom, took my shirt off, stared in the mirror, and it was just me looking in my eyes. Nothing to do with society or what anyone else wanted. I got real with myself and said, this is not what I dreamed about as a kid. This is not where I thought I would be. And I had to get real honest with myself and say, I'm not where I want to be. And that's where it starts. This first one is so crucial. You have to do this first.
Yeah. It's powerful too. Yeah. It's really powerful. The second is we had to admit that we wanted to change. Like, do you really want this to change? Do you have anything as a secondary gain that you're holding on to this bullshit version of you of the past? We admitted what we wanted. And we admitted that we wanted to look and feel our best, and we weren't going to ask permission for it. And that was a really powerful one for you.
That was key because, I've heard so many guys say, yeah, I don't need abs. I don't know. What do you need those for? Well, I want fucking abs. I mean, that is what I wanted. I was always afraid to say it out loud. And when I took that first step of saying, not happy with where I'm at, and then I gave myself permission to get exactly what the fuck I wanted.
Yeah.
From being in shape to wearing designer clothes to whatever it is that I want. I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. I'm not going to ask for permission for me to win. Doesn't mean you have to lose, but I'm no longer asking society permission for what I truly want, which makes me feel good. And that's all that matters.
Yes. And it's also about, we're not going to yuck someone else's yum, but we decided as a unit, this is what we want. This is what we like. How fucking powerful was it? I'm going to sidetrack for just a minute. How powerful was it getting into the pool in Cabo? And people are just looking at us. Who are these people? And we had 4 people approach us at the swim up bar, like, who are you? We've got to know you. You guys are just like, are you guys celebrities? Like, who are you? And we're like, what? And our kids are like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, it's powerful. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty freaking cool. And I've had abs for a while, right? But it was just like, they just vibrated to us. It was so cool. But we had to admit we wanted to change, and we had to give ourselves permission to go get it.
Yes.
And we were not going to let anybody get in the way of getting it.
Got to give yourself permission to win.
Number 3, we dropped our ego and we started working with coaches. I think I counted it. We had 8 coaches at one point.
Not all at the same time.
Not all at the same time.
But we've had William and John consistently for 3 years.
Yes.
And then sprinkled in other coaches in
And
there.
Ben for fitness.
Yep.
But yeah, that's our triad right there. Triad of badass.
And then we've thrown in other coaches.
Oh my God.
Sierra.
Joey. Jason. Oh my God,
yeah.
Jason, game changer. Jason and Sierra. Shout out to Jason and Sierra. But we hired coaches, right? Because think about it like this way. If you wanted to be saved, Holy Spirit, enter my body. If you wanted to be saved, would you just go out into the street and just ask for it? I mean, that's one way. No, you would find somebody of faith, a pastor, a clergy of some kind that knows the journey. Right?
Yeah, and I think this ego thing is really tougher for men than it is for women.
I disagree, but share.
I think that from my point of view, men do so well. Women do well as also. But I think men go into the workforce and they're crushing it in their business, and they think that because they crushed it there, that they can do this. They don't need help. They don't need to hire someone to show them how to do it. How hard can it be to do some cardio and lifting weights and eat healthy? And I don't think until they drop their ego and realize that maybe I don't know this as well as I know my other things in my life, and they go out and get that help.
I see that.
The other thing I would say, and I think this goes for everyone, is the ego of maybe saving a little bit of money because I can figure this out on my own. It's like, I'll spend any amount of money for you to help me look into the future and fast forward me to where my life's going to be at in 2 years. If you can get me there in 6 months. Save me a year and a half by just showing me how to do the damn thing. Yes. Whatever it is. With Sierra, whether it's Jason, whether it's Joey, whether it's John, whether it's William, whether it's Ben, all those people. Can you shave time off? Because I'm not the smartest guy in the room. Teach me how to do it.
Yeah.
That's the third point. Drop that ego.
Drop the ego. Give yourself permission and drop the ego. But we're not the experts at what we were trying to get to. If we were, we would have been there by now. So we hired somebody with a better map, right?
and we're going to keep hiring people.
Hell yeah. Look, if you can show me how to get from New York to LA in 6 minutes, that's the map I want.
Yep.
Right?
Or Kansas City, Arizona.
Oh, so magical. I love Kansas too. The fourth tactic is we did the boring stuff until it just became permanent. I will say the boring stuff easily becomes a priority when your identity changes. When you just decide this is the person I am now, and you don't look back because you've already given yourself permission and you've already checked your ego. We've talked about this before, the unconscious competence,
yep.
Right? Do it so often that it's not even a decision anymore. Thursday, leg day. It's leg day. I don't care what day of the week Christmas falls on. It's leg day. I'm going to do legs. That's what we do. Where things come so naturally to you. You are unconscious about doing the right habits. You are unconscious about prioritizing the right things. It's not even a question or a decision. It's just your DNA now.
You laid that out perfectly, those 4 steps. That is how you change your identity. This is exactly what we did and what we do, continue to do daily. And this is exactly what anyone that's listening to us right now, this is what you can do. Now, I do want to be very clear. It takes some inner reflection. First, that very first one, a lot of inner reflection, because you've been carrying around 500 pounds for so long, you've just gotten used to it. And when I say 500 pounds, I'm not talking about 500 pounds of weight. I'm talking about 500 pounds of life. So you have to dig deep. And this is a process to release that 500 pounds. But you have to be honest with yourself. Are you willing to be honest with yourself and what you really want? It just ties back to those 4 things. And I would say that's the hardest thing to do, is to get honest with yourself. But if the pain of where you're at right now is so great, you will get honest with yourself. Or in that example, you look into the future in 2 years of where you know you can be at. If that picture is so great, you'll be honest with yourself. But only you can make that decision. But when you do, it's an entirely new life.
It's a new identity.
That's it.
I love that. Guys, I hope you found so much value in today's episode. If you did, like it, give us a 5-star review, share it. Tag us in your Instagram stories. I love hearing from our listeners. We had a couple of people this past week that were like, oh my God, I listened to you. I'm like, what? You're like my hero. You listen to me. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I just really love that it's taken off so fast and that we've been able to share our message. And with that, we will talk to you next time.